Hey, what's up guys, C here, and in celebration of absolutely nothing, I've decided I wanted to start making a new type of content to go along with our normal gaming content, since that's pretty much what we've been doing the whole, almost 6 years we've been doing this now. And don't worry, the gaming videos aren't going anywhere. They're gonna still be there, just as normal. I'm just gonna add something new to shake things up a bit, you know? So I've decided I wanted to start making game reviews of games I either really like or maybe some that I don't.
Well, I've thought it over for a while and decided that I wanted to start with my favorite game ever. No, not that thing. Get that shit out of here. Here we are. Oblivion. Originally released on PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3, it has since been added to Xbox's backwards compatibility and Game Pass, put on PlayStation Now, and is on Steam. It even had a mobile release, but I've never played it, and from what I've seen, it's quite different from the actual game, so we'll just brush that aside for another day. Now, I first played Oblivion on the 360 at my brother's old apartment back in 2012 when I was 9, and I was absolutely blown away, since at the time I only had a Wii and a Nintendo 64, so I'd never played a game that looked and played so good before. I loved everything about it, and even got 100% achievements on it on 360 when I got one of my own. First game I ever 100%ed. But before I get too far into my personal feelings about the game, I would like to take a second to talk about the development. So, after the release and success of Morrowind in 2002, Bethesda knew they'd have to make a follow-up fairly quickly and split its development team in two. One for Morrowind DLC, and one to begin Oblivion. Rumors began to spread in June 2004 after an email was posted from Bethesda looking for new staff, mentioning that knowledge of the Elder Scrolls is a plus, and the title was officially revealed on September 10, 2004, with a reveal trailer being shown at E3 2005 with the planned release date of November 22nd, 2005 to coincide with the release of the Xbox 360. A lot of work and development was used to create something brand new called Radiant AI, which is AI that is bound to a schedule to go and do things at specific times in specific places and exist and interact with the world around them, leading to a much fuller and larger scale to the world than had ever been seen in gaming before. The E3 trailer also appears in the game as an Easter egg on the main menu if you remain idle too long. As for the November 2005 release, well, that's disappointing. After a delay for more development time, The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion was released on Xbox 360 and PC on March 20th, 2006, with a PlayStation 3 release exactly a year later, to universal acclaim with a 94 on Metacritic for the 360 and PC and a 93 for PS3. Which feels pretty pointless. Like, what was the difference to change it by 1 point? Probably as punishment for making them wait so long. Anyway, now that I've given a slight peek into the development and lead up to the release of Oblivion, let's actually talk about it and why I love it so much. Now, I know. How could you like the graphics in Oblivion? They're so bad. Haha, funny dough-faced character models aside, I think the graphics of the world have aged pretty well, with a few pixelated parts where it feels they cut corners, but for the most part, the world and dungeons still look pretty damn good for almost being a release title for the 360. Now, the character models on the other hand, well, yeah, they all look like they just got a frying pan right to the face, Tom and Jerry style. And the elves are just people now, with bigger ears. And the orcs just having a little bit in their face to differentiate them from normal humans. Just, green. However, the character creator at the beginning of the game is very in-depth and insanely good at making just pure abominations to mankind, or actually nice-looking characters if you want, at least in Oblivion's level of good. Personally, I think it's a lot better than Skyrim with its basic sliders with not too much uniqueness in other than just what looks basic, and leagues better than Morrowind's where you get 6 options per race, give or take. The only thing I would personally change is the lack of hair options, since you can't be bald and is just overall fairly basic, but for the time it does the job fantastically. Overall, I think besides the disgusting character models, the game aged very well for being 16 at this point. And if you look beyond some of the lesser parts, you can truly get immersed in the world. Now, something that really helps in that immersion is... Now, this may either be controversial or stereotypical, depending on how you look at it, but in my opinion, Oblivion has better music than Skyrim. Yeah, get out of the way now. To be honest, I prefer Oblivion's music over almost any other game that isn't in the Zelda series. But the full soundtrack is very short, only coming in at a total of 58 minutes over 26 tracks. As a contrast, Skyrim's soundtrack is almost 3 hours and has double the songs at 53. But, my dear viewer, every single one of Oblivion's 26 songs are masterpieces. From the peaceful tracks while you walk around the hills of Cyrodiil, to the combat music when you get into fights, even if one of them might get a little old after a long session. I especially enjoy the songs Through the Valleys and Peace of Akatosh. If you haven't heard these before, first off, how did you get this far? And second, go listen to those and the rest after this video. The whole soundtrack is on Spotify. So, overall, some very good music to listen to while you adventure in the world of Cyrodiil. However, my friends, what are good graphics and music without... Alright, this is going to be the bulk of the review, and obviously, spoilers from here, so if you want to skip this part, go here. So let's start off with the most important quest in the game, the main quest line. Our story begins right in the tutorial in the Imperial City Prison when Emperor Uriel Septim VII and his personal guard, the Blades, come into your cell to go through a secret escape tunnel to escort the Emperor into hiding from unknown assassins, who've killed all his sons and heirs to the Empire. So you take advantage of the situation and follow them, ending up in a room alone with the Emperor while the Blades fight assassins outside. Here, the Emperor hands you the Amulet of Kings he's been wearing around his neck, and tells you as long as a descendant of the Septims wears it, the gates of Oblivion will remain closed, and that is when he is killed by one of the assassins. The only remaining Blade, named Boris, sends you to a place called Waynon Priory to find the Grand Master of the Blades, Joffrey. Once you meet him, he takes the amulet and tells you to go find Brother Martin, Uriel Septim's illegitimate son and priest of Akatosh in Kavach. However, when you reach Kavach, you will find a smoldering ruin where a city used to be, with a massive portal in front of the main gate. This is the game's introduction to Oblivion Gates and the realm of Oblivion as a whole, besides Uriel's mention of it earlier. And what a start! Once you reach the main gate, you speak to the guard captain, who has resorted to only holding the road in front of the city to protect the refugees at the bottom, until you volunteer to go into the portal and shut it. Once you do so, you go inside the city and clear out the main road and meet Martin, who is a simple priest inside the ruined church. After clearing the rest of the city of Daedra, you escort Martin to Waynon Priory to find it's under attack by the assassins from before, named the Mythic Dawn Cult. After killing them, Joffrey finds that they've stolen the Amulet of Kings. After the attack, Joffrey decides that Waynon Priory is no longer safe, so he takes you and Martin to Cloudroar Temple, which is a fortress for the Blades, where he will be safe. Once you've made it, Joffrey will send you to the Imperial City to meet back up with Boris and find out where the Mythic Dawn took the amulet. After doing some detective work, or googling it if you want, I don't care, you and Boris figure out where the amulet is being kept, and he goes to personally protect Martin because, you know, he did so well last time.
We failed. I failed.
So you alone head to a place called the Dagon Shrine in some random cave and take their special book, the Mysterium Xarxus. But their leader, and the guy who has the Amulet of Kings, Mankar Cameron, escapes. After that, you go to the snowy northern town of Bruma and clear an Oblivion Gate there, and other towns if you want to. There's 8 more of them, so I have never because it sounds like hell, and not the kind in the game. Once you return from Bruma to Cloudroar Temple, Martin sends you to go get some stuff for him to open a portal to Paradise. You go and get the armor of his ancestor and also a god, Tiber Septim. And then you get a nice little rock. It's an important rock, and it's shiny, but it's a rock. You, Martin, and Joffrey go to Bruma and open a giant Oblivion gate and close that. Then, with the armor, the rock, and the great stone you receive from the gate, you go to Mankar Cameron's paradise, which is a sort of heaven. You go to his palace and kill him, and get the amulet back. Now that you've reacquired the amulet, the rest of the game should be pretty simple. You just go to the Imperial City, light the Dragonfires, and crown Martin the Emperor. Now, once you get there, he talks with Chancellor Okada, and honestly, this is a really good quest line. Now that we have Martin here, we can crown him and finish up, and...
The city is under attack. Oblivion gates have opened and Daedra are inside the walls. The guard is overwhelmed.
Well, fuck. So Martin says to run to the Temple of the One. So you agree, and you start heading there, and then the literal god of the Daedra, Mehrunes Dagon, appears, and it looks like all hope has been lost. Until you make it to the temple, and then Martin decides to destroy the amulet and turns into a fucking dragon. Your character then sits there uselessly as a Power Ranger fight starts, until Martin defeats Mehrunes Dagon and then turns the stone as a price for using the power of Akatosh, thus saving the world and closing Oblivion forever. After a week, you get some special armor, which doesn't feel quite as important as it should, but it's better than Skyrim where you get absolutely nothing, I guess, so I'll take it. Now this story isn't perfect. Looking at you, allies for Bruma, I'm not going in those portals. And the Oblivion Realms themselves, to be honest, feel pretty underwhelming after your first playthrough. But overall, I think it's very good, especially in the Kavash quest and going to the famed peaceful realm of Paradise. It's almost like a yin and yang, with Paradise meant to represent heaven, and Oblivion obviously meant to represent hell. Now, some other quests I'd like to mention are two of the guilds, though they're all fantastic. For me, the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild are amazing, and every quest you do for them, they're just so good. Like, the Dark Brotherhood, you could be dropping a mount on someone's head, or murdering everyone at a house party, or even faking an assassination. The Thieves Guild as well has you stealing the Archmage's staff from the Mages Guild, relocating one of the Imperial Guard captains, and even stealing an Elder Scroll. Personally, I would highly recommend doing all the guilds, but those two are just my personal favorites. Now, one thing I'm not going to talk about here are the DLC, particularly the Knights of the Nine and the Shivering Isles, due to not wanting to spoil them, as especially in the Shivering Isles, it's such a tonal shift from the rest of the game, but I can assure you they're very entertaining and definitely worth the extra price. Now, after talking about all this, one question remains. Why? Why do I and so many others love this game so much, even preferring it to Skyrim in some, or in some people's opinions, all aspects? Well, in my opinion, it's the same reason anyone prefers a certain thing, even when its technology is made irrelevant. For example, for some people, Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game ever made, even when its graphics, compared to now, look like absolute shit. Same thing with Mario 64, where objectively, better things in both graphics and even gameplay have come later, but people who grew up with those games will defend them all the way to the grave. So maybe perhaps it's a nostalgic thing, or maybe some things really were better in the older titles that were phased out with time to appeal for a wider audience. In all honesty, it's probably a bit of both. Like, for example, Oblivion and Morrowind especially look like pure garbage today, but fans ignore that because they love them so much. Same reason so many N64 or PS1 games are so beloved. Graphics don't matter if you grew up with them. Hell, even how the game plays doesn't matter entirely with some of the controllers through the years, like this thing. How I play this console still today, sometimes without thinking about how shit this controller is, I don't know. Or just some simple quality of life changes like fast travel after Morrowind or dual wielding in Skyrim.
So, all in all, despite its faults, Oblivion is a game that will remain in my and many other gamers' hearts for years to come. Now, what game am I going to review next? Well, with its sequel looming large over the year, and possibly next, I think it's time to talk about Overwatch. But anyway, guys, this has been C from USBC Gaming. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later.